For the fans who weathered the first 3 games of the Big 12 tournament, welcome to your dessert, your last course. UCF taking on Utah in the last game of the night in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. I am Carter. I'm here with my guy Subi, and we are here to break down this game and preview it. UCF Knights, they've had, I don't know, this feels like a theme with all of these first round games in the Big 12. I feel like a lot of these teams have had moments, right? Like I watched UCF go into Fog Allen Fieldhouse and give them everything that they could kind of ask for in that game. Now, different feelings on where Kansas is, but taking Kansas to the brink in Fog Allen, and I think they really got bailed. I thought they could have won that game. The rest really bailed them out. And then on the other hand, a Utah team who their head coach is let go with 3 games in the season. A lot of guys had something to say about that, feel a certain way about that, and they've played some somewhat inspired basketball. Had a really tough, close matchup against one of the hotter teams in the country in BYU. So, Subi, I'll throw it to you first quickly. Where are you at with this UCF and this Utah matchup?
I do think, look, we've had a lot of fun joking around about these first round matchups, but I do think this is the most compelling first round game of the Big 12 tournament, right? Like, I think these are two teams that have shown, like you had mentioned, flashes, and they have shown that they have the ability to cobble together some wins and can put together a good performance. And I think they're very comparable, these two teams. So, with all that said, I think it's going to be a very tight game. And when that happens, I've said it a couple times now, Cart, I look at free throws, and Utah is a awful free throw shooting team. They're also one of the worst teams in the country when it comes to free throw shooting. Alongside, I think I had mentioned TCU maybe from the line, but yeah, Utah, they're probably going to leave some points on the board from the stripe, but they do a great job of sharing the basketball. I think their assist numbers are very, very strong. So I'm looking at Utah's offense, and I'm also looking at, hey, how do we want to approach this game? I'm unsure, right? Like, is this almost like a dress rehearsal or an audition for this new guy that's coming in? I say new guy; he's part of Rick Majerus' squad, but they have their new coach heading into the season next year. And by the way, Josh Eiler, it feels like he's just the interim guy. He was the interim coach for West Virginia last year, interim here at Utah. Hopefully, one day he'll get a full time role. But it'll be interesting to see how Utah approaches this game from the night side of things. I've been trying to look at what these guys have shown me in the past, and you could argue they have one of the best wins in the entire conference season with a win over Texas Tech.
Mhm.
And by the way, they only lost by 1 to Houston. Like, they can compete. They
Yeah.
can definitely compete, Dawkins squad. So I think UCF here has the slight edge in that respect. Utah, although I think they've done their best fighting, they sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel and they want a fresh start. Um, but UCF, they can get contributions from their bench, I
Mm.
think. And that's going to be a critical component to this game. Utah, on the other hand, cannot. I've seen them play, and they're limited with their starting five. They're even more limited with the folks that they're bringing off the bench. So the difference in this game is going to be the bench production. That's what I'm looking at there. And then personnel wise, I'll get to. But Cart, anything on your end that you're seeing with this game?
Yeah, so I want to make something unequivocally clear. UCF for me is the most toxic relationship I have in the Big 12 because at its heart, I am the biggest advocate of just do him ball. And this team is full of guys that just take turns doing the opposite defender. And sometimes they get mad when they don't get the chance to do the opposite defender. Like I've seen plenty of times this year where Ivy Curry's like looking at Keyshawn Hall, who's looking at Darius Johnson, who's also looking at JJ Taylor, who's also looking at Mikey Williams, and all of them are mad at each other that they're not taking the shot. It's quite the thing to watch when it all comes together and they all do their defender at once. It's fun. They score a lot of points. It's great. They're having a good time. Defense optional, all fun type basketball. Um, but for me, when I watch this UCF team on the other side, if that doesn't work by the first media timeout, they kind of move on to the next game. They're like, you know what I'm saying? That same hesitation move's not really working. And I'm not gonna play any defense. So let's see what we got next week and let's try again. So I don't know where I'm at with this team. They had the big wins, like you said, and I actually been impressed at times that I've watched them this season. That 1 point loss to Houston is not anything to balk at. I think they needed a game winner by Juwan Roberts in that game by Houston to win that one. So, um, you know, I go back and forth on this. It's a pick 'em according to Ken Palm. I think they UCF is favored by 1, and there's some interesting matchups I think in this game, but uh I think the main thing for me is looking at this one is what UCF is going to do offensively because I don't buy Utah defensively whatsoever. One of the things that shocked me in a game that happened a couple weeks ago when Kansas went to Utah and played is the inability for Kansas to score against that team. And like I said, I'm teetering right now because I've seen what this UCF team can do offensively. They can put up points in bunches if they get going. They're a real streaky team, I would say. So I guess you kind of got to see what it's going to look like when the game first starts. But at this point of the season, I'm going to fade UCF getting streaky and more so take Utah with maybe a little new coach bump to their step. Maybe.
All right. All right. I'm split here. We're split, I should say. I'm going to take UCF in this one, and I'm actually going to focus on their defense, right? So I mentioned the bench. I think that's going to be a big component as to why they win this game. But also, the last time these two teams played, Lawson Lovering was awful. And I contribute that to UCF's defense. You talk about the type of players you like watching, like do ball. By the way, I guarantee you, when you said Mikey Williams, we have a refined, knowledgeable audience, but I guarantee you, someone's going to be like, "Wait, the dude from San Diego, like that guy? Yeah, folks,
Yeah.
he's on UCF."
So is JJ
Uh,
Taylor, by the way. Like,
that's
what is this
right.
team?
I love it. But the guys that frustrate me to no end, Cart, are huge guys that just have zero polish and just no game whatsoever. Because I'm like, I'm sitting here at like 5'10", 5'11". You know what? I'm 5'12". How about that?
There you go.
I'm sitting here at that height, man, and I'm just like, Doug, if why are you wasting this height? And I feel like Lawson Lovering does that quite often. He's huge and he's just so uncoordinated at times. And he's like Bambi out there on ice. Like some of the shots he puts up are not great. So I think it's just that's just a personal frustration I have. But I do think UCF's going to be able to limit him, and then Utah doesn't have a ton of like their offense is pretty ugly to watch. I don't think they have a ton of shot makers or different options. Maybe Gabe Madsen goes crazy. I don't know. But this seems like a spot for UCF who have shown that they can put together really, really good efforts, although relatively few and far between. I got UCF winning this one in a tight one, 75-72.
Hmm. All right. I feel odd just hitching my wagon to Utah. But the thing is, like in this game, the one thing UCF defense does do that is kind of like, okay, that's a good. They actually defend the three pretty well, but they're terrible inside. So if your boy Lovering can just go dunk the basketball, UCF is okay with that. They will let you score at the rim if you want to, and I think they will in this game. So Subi, I'm marking this game. We have a lot of Big 12 previews and recaps that will be coming up, and once we get to the end of this, there's going to be like a winner of who the recaps and the previews are. This is the first stand right now. So this is our first matchup. You are siding with Dawkins and UCF, and I'm taking Utah. Are you okay with that?
Totally, totally fine with that, man. And
Yeah,
and here's the
I'm
last
not
thing I'm gonna
as I
say.
say it out loud, but I'm going to stand on it though.
Hey, man, we gotta have a little bit of conflict. The very last thing I'll say about Utah, I've seen them play. Keanu Dawes, like he has a give a damn factor. He cares, like, and he tries, and I respect that. I hope they can build off of that. But yeah, Cart, let's be split, man. Were we not split on Cincy, Oklahoma State?
Wait, did
I
we?
took the Cowboys.
You took okay. So all right, so we have two matchups we were split on.
All right, man.
We're not we're not antagonistic here, but damn it, we'll say it how it is, and we'll get to the end of it, and we'll shake hands, and I'll gloat if I win. I'll act like it's nothing if I lose. That's just kind of the way I feel like things should go.
I think that's brilliant.
Sounds great. Well, whatever the result of this game, whoever the winner is, Subi has to show up, and I have to show up. So we'll be here to recap all the major games going on. We have previews for every major conference tournament on our YouTube channel, so be sure to tune into that, and we will see y'all for the recap.